Incremental readings. That is the 26th section of the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo, the Fluency cycle. And it's dedicated to what I call collection management, like an umbrella. That it's something convenient to do. It was not pressing, because at the beginning your collection is tiny, it's not a big deal. But from now on, it will be. First is backups. How to do a backup? Restoring from a backup, then do a different strategy that is to do a local zip. Another one that is to do a Git backup solution. Many things in SuperMemo doesn't allow an undo. That's why you should have more backups more often than usual, because Ctrl-Z won't make any difference. Then, another thing is how often to repair your collection. It's like the old hard disk drives, the mechanical ones that needed this time to time, because they were fragmenting with time, or databases, same thing. Then the pros and cons of each SuperMemo backup strategy, so you can decide. And then we will move on to favorite collections. Just a sneak peek, one of the simplifications of the Fluency cycle is that we only have one collection, right? Even though here and there I mentioned something for multiple collections. It's because it's an excuse that I can show you something else, and now that I already have it on my screen, it doesn't hurt spending an extra minute. Then how to repair your collection, the difference between basic and detail, how often, that's duplicated, sorry. How often you should repair your collection, how you're going to speed it up by excluding Antivirus in Windows, that's not built in, and there's a massive difference. And just a recurrent thing with action violation that you might experience, especially if you use SuperMemo 18. And that's about it. Just the basic stuff, and again, in the mastery, there's a lot more to unpack here, and crazy more, because there are some features that are not even mentioned. I neglected. And this is not tenfold. It's way more. Way more. I don't know the mastery, because I'm still ongoing that. But if I compare Fluency with mastery and completionist together, I will advance on myself. It will be closer to 100-fold, the contents. Most of that is missing returns and features you will never use in your life. So no worries. So without further ado, let's start the section. We're going to see how we can back up the collection using the default option, and just because it's reason it doesn't scale well with large collections, I'm not going to use my own collection, because I will need all of the morning to record this video if I do. Therefore, I'm going to use another collection. So it's okay, I want to back up this collection. So File, Copy Collection. No, I want a backup, or Shift F12. Create folders. Yeah. What happened here is that it's the very first backup I do. So I don't even have the folder. Then you have these choices. Do you want to back up this collection? Then the directory is the same we have here on the corner. Then it's telling you how much space you have left, just 30 gigabytes. Yeah, recording so many videos, it's consuming my storage. And then you have the backup name. This is a convention. It's backup of name of the collection, in this case new, created on, date, timestamp up to a second, and with triple parentheses. And you also have the latest date and storage, the last time you did the backup. What happened is the very first time. Nice. So it's okay, let me back up here, or I can change to a different place. I want a different drive that I have just for backups. I don't want to use my C drive, right? Awesome. I will just backup it here. And you can see now it's super quick, because this collection only has 2 elements, but it has done a full copy. Every single element, every single file has been copied. This is extremely efficient. As soon as your collection has thousands, tens of thousands, it will start to become super slow. Then what happened? Do you see now in the latest used collections, now we have the backup. And if I go to open collections, it's not here. I use my D drive, but if I go to the C drive, SuperMemo, backup, here you go, it's here. That's how you can locate, and usually how you know it's a backup collection. Awesome. That's how you create it. So now I can continue with my daily usage of SuperMemo. That's it. So whenever I want to get a backup, which is not a backup, it's a full copy, it's this. Backup once again. Then, what if I want to recover from a backup? Easy. When you open the collection, let me open something different. Then open, then let me go there once again. SuperMemo will know that this is a backups collection. Do you want to proceed? Yes, because what it will do is restore it. Now, what's the name of the collection? Hey, stays the same. That's why some newbies who use this feature, the name of the collection gets nested. Backup of the backup of the backup of the backup of the backup. Because every time SuperMemo, every time you do this, do you see? Now it says backup. Now let me do it. Do you see backup name? Backup of, parentheses, backup of, and you will be nesting this if you don't rename it. Nice. So that's how you do it. So now we did a second backup and in the same location. So now you know which one it is. So usually here you have backup of different days. This is how it was meant to be. It was useful back in the day because you had very few elements, very few files, because the plain text components and so on doesn't generate any file. But now HTML components do create. So just to let you know, to prove my point, that every time I should run the backup in my collection, I will do the following. I only have one collection, by the way. So even though I added this, I'm just adding some AutoHotkey scripts and a few other things. Look at this. This is a backup that predates language learning. Just 91,000 files. And with language learning, I have about 500,000 because I have tons of audio files, more than 100,000 just with sound. So imagine every single time to copy 91,000. This is all incremental reading. Wow. That's why I suggest as soon as your collection grows, don't use the backup solution. It's way too inefficient. And you will see some other solutions instead. So now we're going to see how we can recover from a backup that I already did. Is, oh man, I screwed with, I did something, mercy, I screwed over. Let me recover from a backup that I did manually with the backup solution, built-in backup solution. So we have seen the built-in backup solution. In this collection it's fine, it's very tiny, but not for my genuine collection. Well, a backup that, hey, in this collection I have 90,000 files in SuperMemo. It takes a while if I want to copy this over with a backup. What I'm going to do instead, do a manual backup with zip outside of SuperMemo. So first, I'm required to step. I will close SuperMemo. Okay. Then I go to the browser, SuperMemo, Systems, and the collection I want. So usually, for consistency, I just do this folder. So I just back up the entire thing, all of the collections. But let's simplify that you only want specifically one, learning. So you click on the folder, Control, and KNO file, right click. I suggest 7-zip. It's open source, install it if you don't have it. It's superior to RAR or zip. And then add to archive. Then you decide where you want it. The name, usually the name I will put learning, or usually do SuperMemo, and the date, year, month, and day. And usually this is because how it's sorted in the here in the name, just this. Then archive format, yes, and compression depends on you. If you want to compress a little or a lot, it's a trade-off. You want more speed, but the output will be the file size will be higher. So now I will put star, so it's the fastest while recording this. Then you will be able to tune this in case you have a lower spec computer and so on. And it will compress every single file, but look at the speed. I have 86,000. Okay. So imagine in the other collections together, I only have 5,000 because overall I had 91,000 files. That's why, like, for convenience, I just back up usually the parent folder. So here I'm not compressing, and this is a potato PC, and I'm recording my screen, which takes a lot of resources. Look at this speed. In my laptop, usually takes about 30 seconds. Believe me, 30 seconds, boom, done. Even though you can already tell this is a lot quicker, I have done already half of the collection. And I will have only one single file. A lot easier to move to the cloud, to a different computer, another hard disk, and whatever. Also remember that while you're doing this, you can check your inbox or do whatever. You don't have to stare at your screen. Okay, so it has been 2 minutes and 6 seconds. With a potato PC, if you have a laptop, especially if the drive is connected to the motherboard, there's no SATA, it will be a lot faster. Here you go. So now I can put this to OneDrive, Google Drive, whatever you want, and it's just one file. Then later on I want to recover from a backup, easy. I delete learning, and learning can know. Let me do it. Send it to the trash, so you could still recover the files, just in case. Now it's painfully slow, I'm not going to do it. And then here you will just extract here. Or if you open the archive, you can also do drag and drop. Boom, here you go. And you will do the same with the folder. Another solution, which I also use, is no. Let me be precautious. So before I delete anything, let me have a copy. So we'll put SuperMemo 2, and then I do it here, just in case. This extra step is just in case I messed up. Then now it's fine. Okay. Then I will delete the SuperMemo folder, and then I will rename this SuperMemo 2 to just SuperMemo. In case you are paranoid or you want to be sure, because in SuperMemo you're never sure, that's how you do it. Easy. Still manual, just one file at the end of the day per backup you do. So if you do it daily, it will be 30 files a month. And any day you can recover anything. That, hey, I had one AutoHotkey script, You open the file. Oh, I only want this, the collection I that I just modified. Oh, what it had. I don't need to restore the entire thing, right? Just let me move this file. Boom, and that's it. And remember that you can do this since just a compressed folder. You can do this with the parent. So I have the books I use on my collections that are backed up with the images that are still not in SuperMemo. I also have the AutoHotkey scripts that are also backed up because they are so tiny, it just takes a fraction of a second. Why not? So I always keep the latest version. Today I want to share with you how to create a backup for SuperMemo, especially using Git, in this case GitLab. And as you can see, I actually tried this at the very beginning, 11 months ago. So first step will be creating an account. I think it's not needed to record this on the video. So next step will be creating a new project or repository. I won't be using that. So we'll be creating a new one. So click here, new repository, blank, and I will call it SuperMemo. Then visibility level, absolutely in private. You really don't want to share these files. And create project. You don't need to change anything else. Now we have created an account if you didn't have one, and second, we created the repository. So now the next step is installing Git for Windows. That website, gitforwindows.org, download that and install it. Nothing out of the ordinary. And perhaps that on Windows Terminal. And check for the dates. Why not? What's recommended is to use the default settings. I only installed a couple more things, and the rest is default. Okay, it's finally installed, finished. The step will be opening the command prompt. So now we will create the user. So git config global user.name and the name. I will be using Palace with capital P. Gotcha. Then same with email. Now I will be using the email I have on GitLab. So the setup now it's completed. Now SuperMemo is the name of the project or repository we did. So go click on clone and copy that. The clone with HTTPS. So now we'll be using that link we just copied. So git clone, and I will be using the clipboard. Now we have a local version of our repository. Now the question is, exactly where on my computer is that, right? And here it is. So that's the same folder. As you can see, I used my drive CD, and here I am. And I'm using a custom folder for SuperMemo, and it's this one, SM184. Here I have all the files and all the systems, which are all the collections. Now the question is, okay, we created a local copy of the repository, but where? Keep in mind that we are using the drive D, and here's my drive D. It's called SM for SuperMemo, and I'm using one custom folder for that, which is this one, SM18 and 4. And I have all the files here, including the systems, which are all the collections. Here it is. SuperMemo is the name of the repository, and look at the date. If I go here, that's my today. And here it is. We have the Git folder and the README in Markdown file. So that's what actually we just did with here. Gotcha. Now we can go to the next step. So I will go here, and I want to copy absolutely all collections and everything I have here. So it's not just my main collection, which is learning. So I will copy this folder inside here. I have so many. I think I have more than 100,000 files already. And even though it's not that much, it's just 2 gigabytes. It will take long because it's scattered with so many different files. In the meantime, we will be doing the next step, which is creating a file. It's optional, but it comes in handy, and it's for automating saving. Usually in GitHub terminology, it's called push, because you have push and pull. So we'll be creating a new file. So basically, it's a text file with the extension of bat with this code. Finally, we are done. So I created a full copy of my entire folder inside SuperMemo, which this folder is from the repository. So now what we can do actually is using this file, just double click on it, more info, run anyway. The first time you do this will take a while depending on how large your collection is. But the good news is that later on, only what's modified will be synchronized. Further synchronizations and updates will be extremely quick to do. Instead of copying the entire thing as I just did off camera, and that took almost 20 minutes. So all the steps I'm following comes from this guide from the community, which is pretty well made. So feel free to use it for copy and pasting the code you need, like this, and adapt it. The links I use for downloading and so on. So I just made a video version of this tutorial, of this guide. I noticed that I'm getting this warning constantly. The file will have its original line endings in your working directory. So, and I found out that this is because I'm using a Windows machine, obviously, because I'm using SuperMemo, but this is being synced with a Unix server. And I googled, I end up here, I can do that, so I could prevent any future warnings. Okay, so it's been a while, finally it's finished, and I noticed that the window disappears, so it closes automatically. And here, that's the repository, and as you can see, 1.1 gigabytes. Now the next step is opening the collection, but this is extremely important. Because keep in mind now, I'm using this folder inside SuperMemo, not straight away here. So what I will do when I open SuperMemo, you can see that all my collections are D and SM184. So what I will need to do is open collection and now go here, D, in my case it's D, SuperMemo, SM184, systems, and now the English collection. The good news is that you will have to do this just once every time you open each collection. So now I will do the same, for instance, with learning, which is my main collection. So from now on, I will be using that. So eventually, what I will do when I have all the collection transferred and I made sure that everything is okay and I'm used to how it's working, I will get rid of that, of the old copy. Because all I need to go every time I finish a session is double click on that. So now pay attention here that it's actually not the same collection. Both are the same. Now are the same because I didn't do any repetition. But look, the difference is because it's in a different place. Keep that in mind, is extremely important because it may happen that you're using the old version instead of the new. So you won't save any progress at all. So the question we have now is when to backup. It's really important to backup your collection, especially in SuperMemo. Data loss is inevitable in many ways because of bugs, something you cannot undo, and so on. Let's see in a slight detail, just the overview. When? So, after major changes, before, you will see that also after. Why? Oh, let me do, I don't know. A repair collection it's been a very long while. Wait. I want to do some rescheduling in bulk. Wait for it. Do a backup, do what you try to do, and after you verified, okay, that's what I wanted, everything is cool, you continue. If something happened, you trigger the bug, especially for instance if you repair the collection, just to mention one example, with any bugs checked, but the first one, you will have feature breaking bugs that you have to recover. Or something meaningful of templates and so on. Before you do anything in bulk, do a backup first. Then after it, significant progress. Then after significant progress, even if it's just content, so you just did close deletion, reformulating, and so on, because you have spent a lot of time, basically. Even if you don't have created any template, applied everything in bulk, if you lose it, you have to do this once again. And it won't be the same because you won't, now you're primed because you remember the repetitions you have done, and you really want to avoid that. Then, prior to system maintenance, if you move to Windows 10 to 11 or something large, or new computer, stuff like this, because sometimes something breaks, stopping. Now, why on earth the video doesn't work, stuff like this. Then before traveling, just as a backup, that what if my device gets stolen or lost, right? That's what I do. Before getting into a plane, I do backup everything, not just SuperMemo. Then, after resolving errors, something we have seen before, after you have done it, because it's also a point you want to restore. Hey, I want to backup just after I solve this issue, so I don't have to do it once again. And if you're a daily user, do a backup daily. And if you are a power user, you use SuperMemo across the day because you're an incrementalist, do an intraday backup. This is especially useful if you use Git backup solution. It's 2 clicks and about 5 seconds. If you use the manual approach, it's always a pain. Please don't use it ever. It's the worst, the built-in solution, the built-in backup is the worst solution for backup, in my opinion. Don't use it. And it doesn't scale well with the size of the collection. So this is more or less some common sense on when to when to do a backup. And then, if you messed up, you recover from the backup, and sometimes it will take a while. So something I also suggest, after you have done a major change, verify everything. Hey, let me see the outstanding queue, all of this, because then it's overlooked, and you realize, oh wow, now that I see now I see the concept registry, it's all messed up. All of the concepts are duplicated, I lost the link, they all disappear if I do a repair collection. This collection is doomed. So you have to recover from an older backup. So the sooner you do it, the better. The most likely you will discover sooner, and the few hours you will sacrifice of hours wasted. And this will become second nature. That, hey, I have a feeling I have invested a lot of time already today. Let's do a backup, and let me continue the session. So we have different strategies, backup strategies. We will see them compared. So you can see the pros and cons of every single one, everything put together. Remember that we have the built-in file and copy collection, then zipping the folder. So you go, it has the folder, you will go right click, 7-zip or what you use, and zip it. Okay. Or use a Git backup solution. So those are the main three. So what about the ease of use? Of course, the easiest is to just click the backup. Boom, I click, that's it. I will need to wait until it's done. But it's very manual. I have to remember to do it, and it's a manual step every single time. Zipping is also manual. Also, I have to do it when SuperMemo is closed, it's not running. And can automate at some degree the backup, the creation of the zip. Okay. And it's quite easy to do. You just right click zip, the same as SuperMemo, but outside of the app. And if you want to do a script, it's slightly more difficult, but it's super easy. The Git backup solution is the most difficult one. It requires creating an account, installing software, using Git commands, so it has a lot of more learning steps, before you can actually use it. Even though you just use a few commands of Git, because we're repurposing Git as a storage, not as a versioning of software and so on, and can be fully automated. Then, what about version history? There's none. In Git Backup Solution, it's excellent because actually it's the primary purpose, not as a backup. So I can, if I want, I can see anything that I had deleted before, what was the prior version of this file, this other file, and so on. There is some limitation that SuperMemo, when you edit text, it changes the name and the directory, so you lose this tracking. But at least the files that are static, you have the versions of every single day. Unzipping the folder has none, as well as the backup, because the backup is just a full copy. So there's no history at all. What about storage efficiency? We have that the copy of the collection is the worst. It's very inefficient. If you have 1 gigabyte collection, the copy will be 1 gigabyte. And if it's 100,000 files, tiny files, you'll have to copy 100,000 tiny files every single time. So this scales awfully with large collections, especially if you use language learning. That means a lot of audio. It is incredibly poor. Zipping is just poor because even though you copy the entire files, you get only one single file at the end of the day. And it's compressed. So the file size is slightly lower. Nice. You save some space. And it's a lot easier to move around because even though you may have hundreds of thousands of files inside, it's only one file. So you can move these to a different hard disk or, I don't know, attach this to a server, whatever. Unlike 100,000 little files that it will take a lot to copy over. And Git Backup Solution is excellent because you only store what changes every single time. You don't repeat all of the content. Then, what about data integrity? That you may have, I don't know, some copies, there's some failure, usually by hardware or, I don't know. For instance, data integrity is very good if done correctly. What happens is that every time there's more chance to run out of battery or anything, just because the process takes longer and longer. If it takes 2 hours to back up, it's more likely that in 2 hours I run out of battery, it resets, reboots for an unknown reason, whatever. And I will have to start over. Zipping the file is moderate because sometimes it can corrupt the file. If you use 7-zip, as long as you have plenty of RAM memory, which I think you can limit if you want, there's almost nothing. It won't happen. And if it happens, you just repeat the process in the very, very obscure time that happens. And the Git Backup Solution, the data integrity is the highest. Prevents data corruption because it checks the deltas and a lot of things mathematically, so it's the safest. And if for whatever reason something is corrupt, you can just change to the prior stage, whatever that is, because you have a full version history. So you only lose the minimum thing of that file that is corrupted, and everything else stays the same. So imagine that I have to back up something from 1 month ago. I will lose everything in the other 2 solutions. In Git Backup, no, I have everything from today and this file just from 1 month ago, as an example. Then, restoring process. Super easy to do the backup, as well as the zipping the folder. What you do, you just unzip it where it needs to be. That's it. And in SuperMemo, you just use the menu once again to recover from a backup collection. In Git Backup Solution, the process is moderate because you need to check out some, because sometimes it's okay, I cannot proceed that, so I have to do a branch. It requires a little more knowledge. Or if you don't have this knowledge, what's easiest is, you know what, let me start over a brand new repository, which is a valid solution, and it just takes a few minutes. Then, what is the key advantage? So why you should choose the built-in backup solution? Because it's the fastest to learn. Not the fastest to do. It's actually the lowest. The larger your collection, the slower it will be. For instance, in my collection, I have done some tests. The zip, creating a zip folder by storing, so no compression, so it's fastest. It's about 20 times quicker than the copying the collection, because I have about 500,000 files in my collection. Then, the Git backup solution, as long as I'm up to date, so I only sync what I have done today, or 2 days maximum, it's a few seconds. Unless I did one final replace in my collection and I changed 20,000 HTML files that needs to be synced. If it's a regular session, a few seconds. So each one is in different dimensions. A few seconds, backup solution, a few seconds, zipping. Up to a minute, depends on the collection, it will still be seconds. For me are minutes. And copy collections for me are hours, because are very tiny, but many hundreds of thousands of files. Nice. What's the key advantage of zipping? Is that you only have one file. So it's pretty easy to have the history in the cloud. Hey, that's a backup of this date, this other day, and it's one single file. Super convenient. And the Git backup solution is a detailed version control, atomic commits, no partial backups, and extreme storage efficiency. So even though you have actually more data than the others, because you store all of the history, not just the current state, it's still more efficient. You will have used less space than any of the other solutions. It's the massive pro. What are the disadvantages? The built-in is completely manual, is extremely storage inefficient, has no version history, and it's painfully slow, and while you do it, you cannot use SuperMemo. It's a big thing. So I had to let it copy the collection for a few hours, and I had to do something else. If I zip the folder, it's manual, yes. It's storage inefficient, yes, but it's pretty convenient that it's just one single point, one single file, and it's pretty damn quick, like 20-fold. It's pretty quicker. And the Git backup solution, the disadvantage is that have a steep learning curve in case you don't know Git, you're not familiar with it. Sometimes you can mess up that then there's no solution or clear solution, so you have to start over. Or there are some limitations that, hey, if I use GitLab, I cannot have more than 100 megabytes files. That means that the text registry, I'm on the verge, I was always on the verge, deleting stuff so I could keep the text registry below 100 megabytes. Not anymore, because now I have merged English, and my text registry is way beyond the limit. Therefore, when you have very large binary files, like the text registry or even videos, kaput. That's why now I use a combination with a zipping folder. So this is more or less the big three solutions, and intermingled, you have seen the pros and cons and the use cases of every single one. So it depends on the case. You may want to start here, and as your collection grows, you will choose the solution to the right. So now that we know that you can have multiple collections in SuperMemo, it's really inconvenient every time to go to File, Open Collection, select it, or going through the last open collections here by recency. You can have what's called favorite collections, and this you can go to File and Favorites or Control O. If it's the very first time you do it, you don't have any favorite, SuperMemo will show you this dialog, waiting for you to decide the first favorite. So we'll select learning. Yes, that's the collection I want, is my main collection, and I know that because I can quickly verify this. Awesome. And then you can choose a letter. Why this letter is relevant is because it will be the shortcut you will be using. Okay. So now in this case, by default, always uses the first letter of the collection, which is L. But if I want, I can have A instead. And it will open the collection. And now, if I press Ctrl O for favorite, now I have the collection chooser. And if you remember, we have the preview. It is the same as what we have seen before, open the collection dialog. Just that I don't have the drive. I cannot navigate my hard disk drives because only has the list. It's for convenience. Do you see it says A and learning? Learning is the name of the collection and A is the letter. If now I add someone more, I can now click here. Because this flow we have seen is only the very first time because there's none in this list. So I can add here and I will add, let's say, medical biology. Here we go. And I want B for biology. Even if it starts with M for medical biology. Now, if I go here, I have A and B. I also see the directory because they could be in a different place. In this case, they are in the same folder, but could be somewhere else. To make my point, I will do it. So I will navigate to a different folder, and I will be using my Learning English collection. And that will be E. Okay. Also keep in mind that since I'm switching collections, these collections have different themes. So the dialog will be seen on the theme of the current collection. So then it's A. Look at this. It's in a different place. Different drive, different URL, and so on. Also what you can do is, hey, you know what? This collection is not that recurrent. I want to get rid of it. Let's say this is the medical biology because it's shared, right? It's pre-built. It's not mine. You know what? I don't care about this now. I just delete it. There's the confirmation dialog, by the way. And that's it. And I want to re-add it. Here you go. I add, and I will navigate and search for that later. Once again. So that's all you need to know about the collection favorite. How to add them, how to remove them. Cancel is just do nothing. Remember that this is shared across collections. So even if I added collections here, in the learning, when I went to Learning English, I had some others, and this is shared. That's all you need to know. So, in SuperMemo, you have collections, okay, but those collections kind of, they need what's called repair. So those collections with time, they become quite messy. You have to repair them time to time. The longer, usually, and the more you use SuperMemo, the more frequently you will need to repair collection. There's a simple analogy with old school physical, mechanical hard disk drives, especially in Windows with the NTFS system. They were fragmenting. So the longer you use the hard disk, the more writes and reads and all of that, it was the performance decreasing, and you needed to defragment the disk. Same with SuperMemo. So if you go to File, you have what's called Repair Collection. And you can have just the basic checkup or many things. It also tells you the latest recovery date. In this case, it was March 26, so a few months ago. It's actually not the case because it's a backup in reality. But it's, oh wow, it's been a while that I don't do it. Let me actually do it once again, right? Then you also have detailed. You can click here, and it's a shortcut that selects almost everything. Why almost? Because make a backup, you can do this anytime, and it's not a backup, it's just a full copy. I don't suggest that. We will get to the section here I never suggest, don't ever make a backup like this by the built-in function in SuperMemo. It's the worst option. Then, verify translation. This will only be covered on the mastery track. Who will use the translation registry? Virtually no one. This is especially the case because rebuild lexicon is painfully slow. Hours. You will need hours for that, to almost no benefit. The lexicon will also be covered on the mastery track. You can neglect all of this. So what I suggest to do the detailed. That your collection is too huge, just do the backup, or if you have issues, let's say, with repetitions, just select the repetition history. So uncheck everything else, but leave the basic checkup. Always, at all times, do not uncheck this box. Why? Because you will trigger extremely problematic bugs that will break your collection. You will have to restart from a backup. It will duplicate your concepts, they will be buggy, you will need to delete and redo them. Absolutely catastrophic. That's why always do basic or basic and something else you want. That is the easy way to do it for the Fluency. On the mastery, we will see more in detail once we cover the lexicon, what do you mean by registries, or the file space, and so on. Let's tackle now the repair collection. You may have seen the option of detailed that check all of the boxes but 3. A backup, which I don't suggest to put it ever. Use other backup solutions. Translation, who will use translation? And lexicon, please don't use it. It's painfully slow and usability, it's close to none. So there's no reason for you to use it. So therefore it's not even checked. So what's this? And just a basic checkout. So basic is just the parameters of the learning process, whatever that is, right? Then registries, it rebuilds every single registry. Text registry, which will be the highest, will be the largest usually. The image registry, font registry, sound registry, the ones you will be using. Then tasks. If you don't use tasks, the tab list, this is useful for you. Then file space. This is useful. The integrity. Perhaps the file was corrupted, has been lost, named incorrectly, whatever. Then repetition history, also important. Could be a mismatch or repetitions from an element that has been deleted or has an state that is incompatible. For instance, I have a topic with some repetitions and I convert it to an item, it will have issues then, because those repetitions ordered from an item format. And finally, garbage files, some files that can be deleted anytime, and it's just for logs and something like that. For the Fluency, we'll leave it like that. Then we are going not do per every single thing it does, but globally. So the purpose of basic versus detailed. So remember all of that extra checkboxes. So the speed is slower, exactly. And in my collection, this means a few hours. Because I have, look at the size, about 300,000 texts. Sorry, it's a backup. But I have like 20-something thousand images and more than 100,000 sounds. So just the sound registry takes forever. Have this in mind. The larger your collection, and especially in size, not in size, but in number of files, it will take longer. Then when to do it, the detailed is something specific. Perhaps it's just because of some file was broken, it is from one registry, just let me do everything, the full repair, and we will see it. If it's just preventive maintenance, like the computer was closed unexpectedly, you will just do the repair, and if everything is all right, you don't need to do anything else. Then the problem solved is that the basic repair only does minor inconsistencies, small corruptions, stuff like that, something that is quick to do. It doesn't, for instance, it doesn't solve any issue with the registries. or the file space, you'll need to do the detailed repair. Then the risk of the basic is very low. You can actually repeat it many times as you want. And the detailed repair is moderate. Sometimes running the collection repair makes the collection unusable, if this makes sense. So sometimes the solution is to move the collection as a branch to a new collection and then run the collection repair if you want, because the collection is already doomed, and if you run collection repair, unusable. So the analogy is like using an MRI or a specific blood panel to investigate a known symptom, like joint pain, fatigue, and so on. And the basic repair is just a visit to the doctor. And yeah, temperature, blood pressure, it's routine and unspecific. But if your blood pressure is super high, hey, alert! Something in your collection, in your body, is out of the baseline. That's why usually I suggest this flow. There's something wrong. No, just do maintenance. That you don't need maintenance, do nothing. Yes, there's something wrong. Do a backup first. Remember, first backup before doing anything. Then run just the basic because it's short. The longer your collection, the more difference there will be. That there are some issues. Then after this basic repair finished, do the second, but detail. You go detailed. That everything is fine, and you don't suspect anything. There's no reason for you to continue. And then, if the problem persists, after going detailed, see exactly what it is. It's way too many. Many errors or warnings you can get. In the mastery track, you will see the most common, 10, 15 common, and easy to solve, easy. Knowing how to solve them, because some is, okay, I know this happens, but the solution is always the same. Recover from a backup, right? There's no actual solution. Can be many things, but there's a rule of thumb. I can find a text, I know it's here. This is about registries. The text registries. Could be also the sources, registries, and so on. Check rebuild registry. That my images are broken, sounds won't play, and so on. Add verify file space on top of the build registries. The statistics, I get errors, or the items I'm getting apparently have no repetitions at all. Then verify repetition history. And if you just want to clean up, do delete garbage files, or just do all of them at the same time by just clicking detailed. Remember, detailed, and here you go. And right away, you have the date, the last time you have recovered. So in this backup, it's in October, and the last day was August. So you can tell how dummy this backup is. That's all you need to know as a Fluent about the repair collection in SuperMemo. And remember, it's per collection. If you have multiple collections, you need to do this for every single collection. Now we have the question, how often you should repair your collection. You know, like a database that eventually you need to rebuild it for performance? But there are more options, more reasons in SuperMemo. So we're not going to repair collection as often as backing up the collection, but it's still rather often, more often than you may think. And the more you use SuperMemo, the more often you will do it. Then, first and most obvious, after unexpected shutdowns. I was using SuperMemo and my laptop, boom, died. The battery died, right? Oh shoot, what would have happened? Depends on the case. Sometimes nothing breaks, sometimes something, file is corrupted, but that file can be rebuilt, or a file is corrupted and cannot be rebuilt, and you have some issues. So after you have done this, just run the collection repair. That is fine, continue. That you have some issues, rerun it several times, will fix it. Or, it's not the case, recover from a backup, that's it. Sometimes a hardware failure. especially before the hard disk drives that are physical, you could have some sections of any file that is not accessible. Not now, not anymore. Now it's an entire device that stops working, more or less. For whatever reason something fails, again, same as before. Then, after manual file operations, you have moved a lot. I don't know, for instance, when I move my language learning material, so I split the collection, or from a collection I merge it to my main collection. It's a massive operation. Then I will run repair collection, because I want to get rid of everything that I don't need now anymore in the other collection. Well, still speaking, in both collections, but more importantly, in the collection I now deleted the content. It's duplicated. I have the language content in my main app, in my main collection, and its own collection. I delete it, and I run collection repair, which will have a ton of stuff. Something usually harmless, but a lot of links break, and so on. When you see something abnormal or errors, so you have the pop-up, error, that's not normal, or some abnormalities that even if I don't have any pop-up, something is fishy, right? Something is not working as expected. You run repair just in case. That everything is fine, you continue. That there was an issue but has been fixed, you continue. That cannot be fixed, you recover from a backup. That's it. Then, before and after major updates. So if you update from SuperMemo 18 to 19, you will just run collection repair just right after. I think even SuperMemo suggests this, so it's you who have to cancel the dialog. So it's the other way around. And last, periodically, for maintenance. Even if that will be my case, that sometimes I use SuperMemo so little because I am invested with the course, that I have done some reading, resolution, some reviews, but I haven't done anything major, no shutdowns, no updates, no issues. Just because it's been a month, let me run it. And again, rule of thumb, the more you use SuperMemo, the more often you will do it. Now, I don't even do it that often. When I use SuperMemo across all day, 3 hours every day, by average, or more, then I will do it weekly, or even less than that, or even more frequently. And also depends on the size of the collection, because if it's a long collection, I have to stop using that collection, so it runs a collection repair. So I will do it at night when I'm not using it and so on, because it will take a long while. If my collection is short, I don't care. I have freedom to do it more often, because it will be about a few minutes top. So also common sense. So there's no definite answer, but now you have some guidelines when you should do it, and then rule of thumb, how often. That's often. And by the way, this is per collection, meaning in your main collection, the one you use every day, will be true. And if you have other collections, it won't be useful to run collection repair if it's, for writing, and I have used it 3 times in the last month. Always rule of thumb. Today I have a quick that will save you a lot of time from now on. So you know that in SuperMemo, you can repair your collection. And especially if you check the detailed, this will take a while. The larger your collection, the more files you have, the longer the repair will take. This scales linearly. Well, there's an easy solution in Windows that you can speed this up. How I will show this to you is I have the same collection twice. Here it's not my genuine collection. I'm using you see this, it's a backup, number 7. So that's what I will do. SuperMemo is my custom folder of my genuine collection, and I synced this some days ago when the collection turned 4 years old. And copy is just a copy I did of this folder. It's exactly the same state. And this was not open. Because I use a different computer, it's an exact same copy. Then, what you need to do, I'm going to show you what you need to do, and then demonstrate the effect it has. So I'm using Windows 10. I also did use my computer with Windows 11. It's almost the same thing. So you need to go to Start and Settings. Nice. Then Update Security. Within here, because this is a potato PC, cannot run Windows 11, unlike my laptop. Now you have to go here, Windows Security. Here you go. Then the first option, Virus and Threat Protection. This opens a new window. Nice. And in this section, Virus and Threat Protection Settings, click on Manage Settings. Yes, I know, a lot of steps, but you only need to do this once. And then scroll down until you have exclusions. Click again, Add or Remove Exclusions. Okay. This is what they have. This is one app unrelated, and this is the directory where I have SuperMemo. That means that this only one folder is affected, my genuine collection. The backups are not filtered out, are not excluded on the Microsoft Defender antivirus. That means that I will run this, it will be skipped, excluded, so it should be faster, and I will be running this backup because I know it's the exact same collection in the same state. It won't be filtered out because I specified the folder. So let's do that. I will open SuperMemo, my genuine collection, and then only the learning, this collection. Nice. So then I just go straight, repair collection, and I will click detailed. I will check how long it takes. No worries, I will edit this out for your convenience. Here we have the time, but anyways, regardless of that, this is a text file, and on this file there's the time that it takes. Because at the end of the day, SuperMemo, the bottleneck is not the file size, but the quantity of files. Because you have a lot of very tiny files, HTML files. So even if my collection is just, I think, not even 1 gigabyte now, it's more than 100,000 files. And well, I'm shooting this. I will be interleaving and working on my laptop. It's just enough, it's not in the screen. In about just 5 minutes, but what I also noticed, usually when I run this, is when the last step, that you go through the folders, this takes the longest. That you are almost reaching the end on the loading bar, and then it stays like 5-10 minutes extra there. Bro, this feels like incremental recording. I'm working on the laptop. Whenever I feel to something is worth mentioning, I just say it. And hopefully with the editing will make sense. So weird. Exactly, that is what I meant. The file space slots. In my case, look at that. It's almost 900,000. This will take a lot. It's been about 10 minutes, and believe me, that's the short, that's the quick version, not the slow one. It's funny, I have been taking a look for a while, and the time passed and so on is not updating, for whatever reason. It's really stuck. I check in my laptop. Do you see now it goes quicker? Because now it's just the review repetition history. It will be done in a minute. Now this is generating the file, the text file. Let's see. So, with this technique, theoretically, that's the fast version. No errors whatsoever. Exactly, 27 minutes and 35 seconds. I will keep this open. Now, let me change the collection from the copy. And only this, remember, only this folder is filtered out in the Windows Defender. So I will select the copy. This is an exact copy, so I have to select the collection. Okay. You can see it's the exact same place. Cool. Then again, repair collection, detailed. Let's see how long it takes. I remember last time it was at 17 minutes and something when it started the stage of the file slots. So I'm pretty sure I can already say that this will take longer. Okay, it's about time. Remember, 27 minutes, 35 seconds. I'm about to get to this point, and it's still in the references registry. So yeah, I already have proven it's quicker, because basically what's doing is that this, I'm guessing, every time SuperMemo has to access the file, Windows will be slower, because it has to check for that there's a wall, something like that. Since now we are bypassing the Windows Defender, this is quicker. Nice. So this time needed 55 minutes to get through the storage slots. Wow. By the way, I was doing now SuperMemo for a while. You cannot go more meta than that. Using SuperMemo while I record a video about SuperMemo. Okay, finally. Just removing the folders. So in both cases, look at the difference. 27 minutes 35 with this trick, and without the trick, 56:37. So you just cut the time in half at the very least. Oh my god. Also, in case you have more collections and you want to cover all of the collections, it will be as easy as modify this. Hope this has been helpful. So here I'm going to cover with a kind of rare or inconvenient bug, but it may happen quite often if you use SuperMemo 18. Now I'm using the 18, even though what I'm going to show you also exists in the SuperMemo 19, but it's a lot easier to trigger. That's why I use it. Okay, here you have it. So you have action violation at address, some number in module SM18 or 19 if you use it, executable file. Read address in the same number. Usually this is harmless. It's one of the errors about memory, something low level, more like computer level than human. Usually it's harmless. If you use SuperMemo 18, could be the case. And now I'm forgetting the cases because it's been a long while that I don't use SuperMemo 18. But if you do a subset and then a search, or in the opposite order, you do first the search, then you do something else, boom, you will get that. Or when you want to cycle through themes, you will get that. In SuperMemo, it's 18, it's a few times a day, usually. No worries, just press OK. If you keep this over and over again, that you need to smash enter or escape, then you may have an error. Then you may have an issue, and then in this case, just run the collection repair. We also have this covered in the course. In those cases, neglect it. Especially if you use SuperMemo 19, when this happens, it's just little spam. Consider this spam, okay, but do not worry, you don't need to repair your collection, do a backup, or panic. Nothing is out of the ordinary. Just welcome the bugs of SuperMemo. Now this is better than ever. Believe me, SuperMemo 18 is a lot more spammy with this. A few times a day. It's routine. So when you see this, don't get scared. It's harmless. And again, if it's all the time or many times consecutively, then suspect it could be something else. So remember this detail. You could even have stuff like this. So once you experience those errors, if what you do is close down SuperMemo right away, it may happen this. Again, those are the same errors. If I now open SuperMemo once again, it will be fine. But as always do backups, please. That's all for now. See you incrementally.